Stacy Savage here, aka the Texas Trash Talker. I'm coming at you from Austin, and I'm your zero waste expert and recycling nerd of 20 years. I've got a quick presentation for you because I have been over my 20 years compiling some pretty fantastic cost-saving measures whenever it comes to food waste reduction. And I want to share those with you, of course. This is especially helpful if your business has a food permit and you're maybe a restaurant, or think of a cafeteria for employees, or a cafeteria in maybe like a hospital. So anytime that you've got food production on site, there's plenty of ways to reduce food waste heading to landfills that can actually save you money. And what I mean by that is if you're doing proper food waste diversion, you can actually renegotiate your contracts with your waste hauler, and you can get the size of dumpsters, like the capacity, 8-yard, 10 cubic yard. You can get that down. We can also reduce the number of dumpsters on your property as well, and the number of pickups per week. So all of those are cost-saving measures that you can take and put into furthering your recycling and composting programs. Now, there are some even easier ways and more cost-effective ways to reduce your food waste than just composting. So we'll go over some of those here. And I do have a presentation with a couple of slides just to make the introduction or the development of this talk a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. So let me switch on over to getting that going. And definitely put any of your questions or your comments into the comment section. I can take those live for you guys. And if you have any site-specific issues, or if you've got any business or industry-specific issues that you want addressed, we can go ahead and run through those. So let's move on to the slide presentation here. So I'm a CEO and founder of Zero Waste Strategies. We're an environmental consulting firm. So we work with companies large and small. A couple of these you might recognize their logos, to help them reduce their waste, to find ways to increase revenue, deepen customer loyalty, empower their employees, as well as to drive a green marketing edge to, elbow out the competition. So those are some strategies that we put together for our clients so that they can feel good and confident about the way that they're moving through having a zero waste operation. So the first thing that we need to understand is that currently under capitalism, we're in a linear production model. It's like this, right? Where on one end, you've got the extraction and production refining process. Then that moves into the distribution, which includes transportation across the US, across state lines and other countries, maybe overseas. And then it gets onto our store shelves so that everyday consumers like you and me can purchase those products. But a lot of times the products that we do purchase they're not made like they used to be, right? That's an old adage. But a lot of times they'll break in 6 months, a year, 2 years, and then they just get landfilled. So we're burning and burying these materials like plastics and glass, metals, cardboard, paper, even food waste into our landfills, burying them in landfills, or we're actually burning them off into through incineration. So these are all very highly marketable and lucrative commodities that should be saved and pulled from the waste stream so that they're not being landfilled, that they can be given multiple lives. And that's what brings us to more of a circular economy through the zero waste model. Zero waste is just a portion, or what I like to think of as a cog in the zero waste economy. So what we're doing is taking the end-to-end points of the linear economy and we're looping them like this. A lot of that starts with public policy at the legislative level, whether it's local city ordinances to encourage recycling, business recycling, residential recycling. Maybe it's food waste diversion for local restaurateurs, but legislative policies that can get everybody on the same playing field and even out the game, so that some businesses aren't doing the lion's share and other businesses that are getting away with doing nothing. So that really evens the playing field. Some of this also goes to let me see, what does that say here? To pull this a little closer. It goes to the consumer habits as well, being able to educate consumers on the different types of products that they are purchasing and how those products are made, and giving consumers a way to compare shop, right? Have a comparative analysis of which companies they want to go with in order to align with their sustainable values. There's a lot to be said for the way that consumer purchasing habits occur, or how they develop over time through consumer education. So as you can see, this loop here, it goes into production, it goes into distribution and such, but a zero waste is really defined globally as a goal of getting to 90% of waste diversion from landfills and incinerators. Now, if we can do that by the year 2040, great. If not, we have a lot of work to do. I think that goal is pretty ambitious as far as getting there to that 90% by that date. But it's something that we can at least shoot for. And if we can get there even sooner, then why not? So now that we know what zero waste is, we can think about this in terms of what is appearing as far as materials at the curb whenever you need to put them out, or maybe it's in your dumpster at your business. For every pound of waste and materials that are produced at the curb or at your business dumpster, there's about 71 pounds of materials that were used in the making of that 1 pound. So we really have to think about the greenhouse gas emissions. Landfills are one of the top emitters of greenhouse gases like methane and carbon dioxide. When we have food waste introduced into the landfill stream, there is a major issue with emission of methane, which is even more potent than carbon dioxide. So you think about the food that starts rotting away in a landfill, then you can think about all the gas emissions that are going up into the atmosphere. So we want to capture as many of these tonnage of materials away from landfills and incinerators as we possibly can, to put them back into that loop, to recreate, remanufacture, refabricate, resoil through the food waste composting, and to really reuse as many products and materials as we possibly can. So let's talk about what organic waste actually is. So this is anything that comes from plants or animals. So anything from your avocado pods to paper to even oyster shells. Those are some things that would be considered organic waste. And these are things that you can find in the back of the house of a typical kitchen, right? A commercial kitchen, at a business. You would be able to find cheese and animal bones and on a larger scale, to where they may need an industrial compost hauler and processor to come and pick up those materials if they're separating them properly. So it's important to understand, what we're establishing, these definitions of what we're actually talking about. So this is not necessarily the organic section in your grocery store, right? It's organics that are considered organic life forms, plants or animals. So the next slide here, we're going to talk about some shocking statistics on food waste. And I want to keep this light, but we really need to address the really daunting problems around food waste in our society. It is just an absolute travesty whenever you look at what we're about to look at. So first thing to understand, this is through the City of Austin, the Resource Recovery Department. They did a 2015 citywide study of the community waste stream, and they did a full study of the waste stream, and they sorted through bags from residential and businesses that where they could sort, separate, catalog, weigh all these materials, and to also identify cross-contamination issues. And if you look here, 37% of Austin's entire municipal waste stream from residential and businesses is organic material, which would be food waste. And some of that could be, yard waste as well. So 30 to 40% is the national average, which City of Austin is right in there. And a lot of times people consider Austin as kind of a green city, but there really is a lot of room for improvement, and a lot of it comes from doing the education and getting people to change their habits. So in Austin, there's a 3-bin system for residential single-family homes, where there's a landfill trash, a recycling bin, as well as a composting bin for any of the household food waste, as well as yard waste. The cool thing is that City of Austin has a pay-as-you-throw system. And the more you're increasing your diversion from landfill through recycling and composting, the less you can pay on your utility bill for the trash service. So you even get a smaller bin, where your recycling bin is really huge and your food waste bin is kind of, in the middle capacity wise. So you can do like a 21-gallon small container for your trash, a big 96-gallon for recycling, and then a mid-size for your composting. And so that's a really great way to help people reduce their bills at home, and even businesses can take part in these kind of 3-bin system strategies that the city offers. Now, you would have to obviously contact your own municipality or the local haulers in your area. If you don't already have these kinds of programs set up, of course, you would want to go ahead and set those up if you've got those services available to you in your local area. So I would call the city, your municipality, and find out what is available to you first. And then contact the haulers and see if you can set up a contract that would allow you to divert as much materials as possible from the landfill stream and to reduce your trash. Another major statistic is that the amount of food that is wasted in the US every single day would fill up the Rose Bowl Stadium. That represents $165 billion every year in just wasted food. Remember, 30 to 40% of our entire waste stream is food waste. So that's something to visualize there, how large the Rose Bowl Stadium is. And it's really honestly disgusting. So we need to change our habits, and it really starts with local municipalities, county governments offering these services to their residents, as well as businesses that have a food permit taking the lead. So another really shocking statistic is that inside the 1.3 billion tons of food that's wasted every year worldwide, there are 43 trillion gallons of water that's wasted in order to produce that food that just gets dumped. So 25% of the fresh water supply is used for produce that just gets landfilled. That, to me, especially being a Texan, being in the middle of a drought, years-long drought, having water issues in your local community. Think about, wildfires that are breaking out all across the country here. Think about Hawaii. We're really in a water shortage, and using 25% of our freshwater supplies for food that's just going to get dumped anyway is, again, complete travesty. It's irresponsible. And for me, it's amoral. A lot of this food could be going to feeding hungry people in our communities, and it's just not getting handled properly. So one thing to consider is the food recovery hierarchy. This is through the EPA. And at the top, you'll see source reduction. And really what that means is refusing waste, reducing your the materials that go out the back end of your business. Feeding hungry people is the next thing that we'll talk about here, where we can do legal food donations to the local food banks and community shelters, and even nonprofit organizations that are designed for redistribution of foods throughout the community. Now, these are foods that may expire soon. They're still consumable, but if they're not rescued and redistributed pretty quickly, they're going to spoil, and then they're going to have to go to landfill, unfortunately. So these nonprofits, these groups are specifically designed to make sure that there is food capture and then quick redistribution so that those foods can be consumed by those hungry people in our community. The next thing that we can look at is working with local farmers and ranchers in order to divert food that is no longer consumable by humans, but consumable by livestock. Farmers also use these food materials in order to produce their own compost on their farmland so that they can spread it among the crops that they're growing, which in turn puts more nutrients, vitamins, and minerals back into the soil so that they are growing more nutrient-dense crops, which eventually we bring home to feed our families. So you can see the circularity right there. Another use would be biofuels and beautification projects. So thinking of the industrial uses, this could be, biofuels where there are yellow grease collection opportunities from, let's say, the fry grease at your local your local McDonald's, or the Chili's down the road, where they collect all the fry grease and they keep it in a special trap in the back. So there are several businesses, at least here in the Austin area, or in Texas, where there are trucks that can come along, companies that have trucks that will come along and pump out this fry grease, this yellow grease, instead of it going down the drain and mucking up all the piping. They can collect it, and then they can convert it into a biodiesel. And if your car or truck or other kind of larger vehicle is converted to use diesel fuel, then you can actually use this biodiesel. So for the beautification programs, this is something where local municipalities or business properties can use the food waste material like composting into beautification projects, like the medians of highways or the medians of local community roads, putting the compost around the trees and the bushes, shrubbery, or whatever on your business property for that beautification effort. And it really keeps the water inside and reduces erosion. So as you can see, the last thing is composting before we get to landfill and incineration. That is because usually these top, strategies in the purple, blue, green, and yellow can be free or very, very minimal nominal costs. And the composting is usually an industrial hauler who will come and collect that on, let's say, a once or twice a week basis. They'll give you containers with Loctite lids, so you don't have to deal with flies or odors or rodents. And you keep them on your property. They will come and pick them up at their scheduled time. They will leave you with new clean containers, and they'll take the other ones. They'll dump the compost. They'll process it into a compost heap so that it has time to break down. And then they'll clean out those buckets and bring them to the next customer. So there's a whole system that they have in place, but it's a paid system. And it just depends on where you're at in the state or in the country, depending on how many composting facilities are in your area. So if it's one composter servicing an entire metroplex area, you're probably going to have pretty steep pricing. But if you've got several composters where you can get competitive bid pricing, you can make them go kind of toe to toe for your business. And then, of course, the incineration or landfill is kind of the last ditch effort, and that's what we want to avoid. So another thing to really look at is if you have a food permitted business, the IRS allows businesses that have a food permit to take a tax deductible credit on their taxes. So if you make food donations that are still consumable to humans, they are kept to proper time and temperature standards through your state's health department, and they're made in good faith, then you can get a tax write-off for that. And what I would do is keep a manifest, maybe just a simple spreadsheet, where you can show the date of the donation, what you donated. Maybe it's 75 loaves of bread that will go bad in the next 2 days that you just had excess of. But marking that down and notating which organization you donated that to, as well as the volume, how much did it weigh as well. So that way you can put it, include that on your tax report, and that you can itemize kind of where the deductions need to occur. And I believe it's a 15% fair market value of what you did donate goes back to your business. So this would include grocers, farmers, hotels, restaurants, and caterers, and even schools. So what I want to offer here is to have companies that either have a food permit or need help in reducing their waste to join our 6-week online Zero Waste Business Academy. This is an entire kind of comprehensive program where we help you save money with a customized zero waste plan. We can help you gain that foundational zero waste knowledge and the key concepts for making improvements in operational efficiencies within your business infrastructure, and help you empower your employees with fun and engaging training sessions. You really want to get their buy-in, because they're going to make or break your program, whether it's recycling and composting or whether it's safety standards. If you don't get the buy-in of your employees, they're not going to be following the rules. So having them trained in an effective but fun manner is really important, because we're talking trash, y'all. It ain't sexy. So nobody wants to talk about it. Trash goes away somewhere, right? So let's get them engaged and get their buy-in so that you have really successful programs and that they're worth the money that you're putting into the waste diversion. So also we'll help you devise a customized plan for your specific business industry in your location. So you may have compliance factors that you need to align with whenever it comes to local or state policies. We can help you get into compliance. And then also, let's challenge the status quo. When you think about 1 in 7 Americans don't know where their next meal is going to come from, and we have a 40% of our waste stream is food waste that could have possibly been consumed by these hungry people in our community. That is the amoral part that I was talking about. And there is a definite lack of connecting the dots between the issue and the solution. So we really want to challenge the status quo with green marketing strategies as well. And we want to make sure that your company is positioned in a way that you can demonstrate industry leadership, that you can signal to your shareholders and your investors that you're going green. And then you can really get top tier talent, especially your millennial Gen Z talent that are kind of coming up in the ranks, that are being employed in high profile job positions. You want to align with their values, their internal values of environmental and social justice. And so you could demonstrate that through having a green marketing strategy, which we will help you devise. So, um, the last thing that I want to ask you all is, if we're not for zero waste, how much waste are we for? And with that, I will go ahead and leave my contact information. You can take a quick screenshot of this. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn through either my business page, which is Zero Waste Strategies LLC, or you can reach out to me on my personal page, Stacy Savage, True Zero Waste Advisor. And True is the zero waste facility certification process that we are qualified to administer through the True organization. So if you're interested in that as well, we can go ahead and get that discussion going. But either way, I would love to connect with you. I'd love to discuss your business issues around waste reduction and how we can save you money, how we can position your company in your industry as a green leader, and how we can get your operations to an optimized, efficient manner, so that you are, spending your resources exactly where they need to go and what's going to give you the most bang for your buck. So I'm going to go ahead and peace out. I will see you guys tomorrow. I will be doing these lives for 30 days. I think I've got 22 more lives to do. So if you can tune in, please do. I'd love to hear from you. All right. Thanks, y'all. Bye.